Filmmaker, artist, enigma, all of the above? David Lynch may be as important to the world of modern cinema and indie film as the likes of Kubrick, Hitchcock, Cassavetes, Bellini, and Wilder. Speaking of Billy Wilder, Sunset Boulevard, that's where I'm headed. David Lynch is hosting his Festival of Disruption in LA. It's funky, surreal, a mix of music, meditation, film, and art, mashed up into a weekend. We pull back the red curtain and, like Agent Cooper, try to make sense of the universe and mythology that is David Lynch.
Mom, here's a phone call for you. Tommy's mom stood up and turned.
Anything we do to someone else, we are in effect doing the same thing to ourselves.
I didn't know he could tap dance like that.
Big complexity.
You're a stark insider.
Oh my God!
I had worked for Bobby Kennedy. I wanted to change the world. In those days, if someone asked my parents, what's Bobby doing? They would answer, teaching meditation.
I used to go to the museum and think about paintings, too. So I would look at a painting and go, how long is appropriate?
I went to go see Eraserhead. This is like when I was 20. I went to the New Art Theater to see Eraserhead at midnight. And I showed up, and the guy behind the thing was like, let me guess, you're here to see Eraserhead. And I said, why? And I was wearing an Eraserhead t-shirt. I was like the Rush fan with the Rush shirt on. I would do a thing where I would put my hand in front of my face on Weekend Update, and it would shake. I would do a character on Weekend Update, and I would do that, you know. And so when we did the Stefan character, that's why I did that, because it really is like, yeah, because I would always get nervous and do that. I'm a David Lynch fan. I listened to his audiobook of Catching the Big Fish, and hearing about transcendental meditation.
Does being in a meditative state make you see new meaning in Lynch's art? I go upstairs at the Ace Hotel to find out. Does the passage of time make us rethink our views of Lynch's work? Are the recent accolades of Fire Walk with Me a sign we are shining a light on evil? Or that the world is becoming even more evil?
The hardest part of playing that character is that this happens to our youngsters everywhere, all over the world, in real life, all the time. That character is a character in a story, in a film, in a TV show. But knowing that this goes on every day, everywhere, at such alarming statistics, that's the hardest part.
What my job was to do was to get a budget together and a schedule to present to Showtime to see if we could make a deal, basically, how much it would cost for them. For him, it was more than like 9 hours, but that's what I was told. It was going to be 9 hours, but he kept telling me, no, it's more than 9. And I kept hearing, the more he kept talking and saying, yeah, I agree with you, this is not 9 hours.
The first shot was the trickiest, where we sort of got dusk going and one of the woodsmen came in and we tracked over to the front door. That's one that comes to mind. I really like the scene where they find Ruth's body, because you go from this really bright hallway that's sort of green-yellow, into sort of a normal room, into a very cool bedroom.
And the tea kettle thing that you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
That was a combination of dry ice and smoke and this big. And
How did you control the smoke?
with a button?
Because it's sort of...
Actually, there's a piece of music played in part 1 and reprised again in part 16, I believe. David heard probably about 5 or 10 seconds of it. Lower it and slow it. So I did that really quickly. And at that moment, I was flipped around like, what? It sounds so good. And it's like an old trick that he's used a zillion times, that I've seen him use a zillion times.
I heard you mention the guy sweeping the floor. It's like...
It's strangely mesmerizing, actually.
Strangely enough.
Yeah.
The full-on Lynchian fire hose made me sneak off for a few hours to attend a nearby exhibition. But was it really an escape? Or the continuation of a dialogue between artists across generations?
This is called John from 1971 and 1972. This is one of his friends who took an image, like this black layer, this key layer of the Marilyn Monroe theme photo. It was used when she passed away. It was oblivious that looks design was doing the same.
This is your main problem. Being so exuberantly happy when the LA Dodgers clinched the spot in the World Series. Happy, I'm grateful, I'm proud, I'm the happiest in the
And who needs no introduction and will get no introduction. Please welcome the great David Lynch.
The yellow phone on the wall started ringing. Tommy jumped, then ran across the kitchen and picked up the receiver. Hello, he said, a little out of breath. Tommy's father was downstairs in the basement wood shop, cutting a piece of clear pine on a table saw. The sound of the saw was screechingly loud, and a big plume of agitated sawdust was forming in the air. Tommy's mother was outside on the front lawn tending to a small flower garden. She was visibly upset about her flower's condition. She was observing a black film on the stems and leaves, and trying to wipe this black substance away while running hose water on it. But it was too greasy, and the water wasn't washing it away. The front door opened, and Tommy appeared behind his mother. Mom, there's a phone call for you. Tommy's mom stood up and turned, the garden hose in her right hand shooting water. Who is it? She asked. I don't know. It's a man. He said he would know what it's about. Tommy's mom stood frozen for a moment, and Tommy saw lines of worry racing across her face. Something else scrambled into Tommy's awareness. He saw that the sky was noticeably darker than usual, and he saw a huge red-orange glow moving on the horizon. Just then, a man appeared running frantically in the street, the man yelling, "Fire is coming! Fire is coming!" Thank you very much.
When curtains are closed, it makes you think, well, what is behind there? And your mind starts going. It's such a beautiful thing.
مش مرسمة مو بتصرفزي فيها